it's interesting that you mentioned September 11th and its connection to this, and that's what I want to talk about, because this is just another false flag, and they've been doing this ever since the 1946, called the King David Hotel bombing, was the first false flag back in 1946. But I want to talk about, first thing, about September 11. So there's a fact that many people aren't aware of, but most people have seen George Bush give a speech about the launching of the New World Order.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
So the fact which most people don't know, George Bush gave the New World Order speech on September 11th, okay, in 1990. So 11 years before September 11th, on the same date. You see, these Freemasons are using certain numbers. They have a lot of importance to them. So why is the date of September 11th important to the Freemasons? The reason is because this is a Masonic holiday. It's called the Battle of Stirling Bridge, which happened in 1297. Okay, in 1297, the Knights Templar had started a headquarters in Scotland, which later became known as the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And there was a famous Freemason by the name of William Wallace who defended off the British, and the British were not able to capture Scotland. So this is why the Freemasons consider September 11th a holiday. It's almost like their birth date, because the famous Freemason William Wallace won independence from England, and that allowed the Freemasons to thrive in Scotland. Okay, so September 11th is a very important date for them. It's almost like their birthday, because that's when they gained their independence in Scotland. Now, another thing you might know, many people might know, that in 1973 was the Chilean coup d'etat. I don't know if you've seen that one. In Chile, they blew up a building and used that as a false flag in order to initiate the Chilean coup d'etat. So they're using this same date, September 11th. Now, this recent event is called the 2023 Israel-Hamas war. It began on October 7th. Now, October 7 is a holiday for the Israeli people. Okay, so if you go to Wikipedia and you just type October 7 and you look at all the events in history which happened on that day, supposedly the Hebrew calendar begins on the day October 7. Okay, so they give the birth date of the Hebrew calendar in 3761 BC. 3761 BC, on October 7th, is the beginning of the Israeli calendar. And they have used this as a false flag many times in history. They've used the same October 7 date to create many false flags. For example, in the year 2000, on October 7, supposedly the Hezbollah captured 3 Israeli soldiers, and they use this as an excuse to invade Lebanon. Okay, they've been using this October 7th as a false flag many times. There was also, back in 1985, there was a Israeli battleship called the MS Achille Loro, which was supposedly captured by the Islamic forces. And again, they use that as a false flag to create an invasion, So it's just, they keep using these same dates. What else? This October 7th has been used many times. Let me give you a few more examples. In 2001 was the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan. on October 7th. They're using these Freemasons are using the Israeli calendar to pick their dates from. Okay. And in 1958 was the coup d'etat of Pakistan on the same date, October 7th. So they've been using the Freemasons, and the Israelis are using these special dates. What else happened on October 7th? Okay. There was called the this ties into the Holocaust. There was supposedly an uprising at Birkenau. The Jewish people who were supposedly in Birkenau, which was supposedly a death camp, which was just really a work camp, and the workers uprose. They chose October 7th because that was the beginning of the Israeli calendar to create this uprising in Birkenau. And another day, this is even more interesting, okay? In 1940 was a memo called the McCollum Memo, which was later declassified. But in 1940, this memo proposed to force Japan to invade America so that America would have a reason to bomb Japan. Okay, so the memo, which outlined the false flag we call Pearl Harbor, the memo was written on October 7th, the same day. They're using these special dates, okay? And what else happened on October 7th? There's more, okay? The creation of the East German Communist Republic. When East Germany was created a communist republic, they also chose October 7th. And also, the fourth Soviet Constitution was created on October 7th in 1977. Okay, so they keep using this Masonic, Judeo-Masonic date of October 7th. Now, let's talk about, I want to mention a few more dates because this is really important, okay? So now, I want to talk about the date July 16th, okay? We talked about in our previous interview, I said, when did the Illuminati take over the Freemasonry? There was an event in 1782 called the Congress of Wilhelmsbad. This was when the Judeo-Illuminati took control over Freemasonry because they had a big orgy at this castle, the Hessian Castle, where Rothschild was the banker for the Hessian dynasty. Okay? So now, July 16th was the day that the Illuminati took over Freemasonry. What else did they use July 16th for? The launch of Apollo 11. Okay, the Freemasons used July 16th for the launch of the Apollo 11. What else happened? Okay, it's interesting to know. You know Mozart, right? Mozart, he did a performance on July 16th called the Abduction of the Seraglio. This was a big show which Mozart performed in Venice the same day that the Illuminati were taking over the Freemasons at the Congress of Wilhelm. The same day, July 16th, 1782, the same day that the Freemasons were joining together and having their big orgies. Then Mozart, who was also a Freemason, performed a big show in Venice. So this is a very important date for the Freemasons and for the Judeo-Masonic things. What else happened on July 16th? Okay. First of all, in 1979, Saddam Hussein came to power. Okay. As we all know, Saddam Hussein was just a CIA asset who they put in power in 1979. And they chose that same day, July 16th, the same day that they launched the Congress of Wilhelmsbad. And what else happened on that? In 1990, Okay, this is very important. In 1990, the same day, July 16th, is when the Ukrainian declared their sovereignty. Okay, the Ukrainian parliament declared their sovereignty. They chose that date, July 16th, okay, because it's a free Masonic holiday. What else happened? There was also in 2013, on July 16th, it's called the Rojava Islamic conflict, which was the beginning of the Syrian civil war. Okay, so the Freemasons chose July 16th to launch the Syrian civil war. And they used what's called the Syrian Democratic Forces. That's how they launched this. So they keep using these important dates, okay? So now, coming back to the 1782, as I mentioned in the previous interview, this is so important because the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, that's basically when the Freemasons became puppets of the Zionists, okay? Before that, the Freemasons had kicked out the Zionists. I don't know if I told you that before, but in 1307, on Friday the 13th, do you know why Friday the 13th is supposedly famous?
No. I know we had a Friday the 13th this past Friday for sure.
Right. So in 1307, on Friday the 13th, the Knights Templar were invaded and shut down. The French king shut down the Knights Templar on Friday the 13th in 1307. So that's why it's supposedly an unlucky day. But what happened was the before 1307, the Knights Templar and the Jewish moneylenders were working together. And then what happened was when the French king invaded the Knights Templar headquarters, the Knights Templar were like, oh, it was the Jews who screwed us over. They ratted on the king about us. So that's why from 1307, Freemasonry and Judaism had separated. From 1307, the Freemasons were actually anti-Zionism, anti-Judaism, And it wasn't until the year 1782 that Freemasonry and Judaism combined together in the Illuminati, in the Congress of Wilhelmsbad in 1782. This was when the Freemasons became the puppets of the Zionists once again. So it's such an important date, this 1782, July 16th. I want to give you a little background about the year 1782, because it's such an important year. If you look on the $1 bill, there's the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. And on the bottom of the pyramid is the date, MCX, blah, 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 right? So that's 1782, right? That date is on the bottom of the pyramid. So why did the Freemasons put 1782 on the bottom of the pyramid? It's such an important year. Well, let's look at that year. On January 7th was the creation of the Bank of North America, okay? The first private central bank of America in 1782. On January 7th, that's when the bankers basically took control of America. And then what happened was on February 27th, the British House of Commons voted to end the war with America. Okay? The British wanted to end the war of America because the same bankers already had created their bank. Okay? They already had control over America. And so that was February 27th. They voted to end the war. And then John Adams, one of the founding fathers of America, went to the Dutch. John Adams went to the Dutch and said, okay, we've got our bank now. And the Dutch gave John Adams $5 million to go back to America, and and take control of the Congress, right? What else happened in 1782? The Great Seal, right? The the pyramid with the all-seeing eye became, the Congress passed that as the seal of America. Okay, that's why the date is supposedly on that. And that creation of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye was 1 month before the Congress of Wilhelmsbad. Okay, the Great Seal was on June 20, and the Congress of Wilhelmsbad was July 16. Okay, so they had been planning this thing for a long time. They already had their bank, and they knew that they were going to create this big party and take over the Freemasonry. So that's why they put that date on the bottom of the pyramid. Okay. And finally, just after that, okay, so July 16th, 1782 was the Congress of Wilhelmsbad. And just after that, on November 30, was when the Treaty of Paris, the peace talks, which led to the Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the war. Okay. So they knew it. They said, okay, the Illuminati has already been created. America already is controlled by the bank, and the now we can end this revolutionary war. The bankers agreed. And so in that same year was a huge year for the Illuminati. And if you just look at the dates, what day did they sign this treaty and what day did they do that? These are very important dates for them, and they keep using them over and over.